Hello, YouTube. You were expecting another AlphaStar cast, but instead I'm here to waste your time.
And I did just that. I've just woken up. It is currently 9:40 a.m. and I'm loving the responses on this video. But one thing I do feel a little bit bad about is the doubling over of the time. Some of you have expressed some comments where you don't like that I try to add in the spoiler-free time, and some of you express that you do. There's no easy way to win, but let me make up this terrible cast with this one here. I sifted through it. Yes, it's a Diamond player versus AlphaStar in its early stages, so this is one of the older replays available, but this is a long one. Hopefully this makes up for it. Buckle in, guys, because spawning here in the bottom right, the Red Terran, AlphaStar, and their opponent, the unknown Diamond player, the Blue Terran, the would-be John Connor. Now look, I'll obviously walk through this game, and as I said, I'm not gonna spoil exactly how long this is, although you might be able to do that on YouTube, but I did go out of my way to try and find a longer one. I don't super love knowing the length of a game going into it, because I do feel like it takes away some of the authenticity that comes with talking and commenting the games, but hopefully this will make up for that short one. I also want to explain some thoughts about AlphaStar and casting it before we get too far into the game, because of course once the action picks up in a TvT, it usually doesn't let off. And that's, I really feel very strongly that I could pump out, like, say, 4 videos in a row that are all these shorter games. Like, if I find a short game, specifically cast like 3 of them and sew them together. But my goal with AlphaStar is not to milk it per se, but I want to do 1 video a day. Right now, because I'm taking a small break on Twitch, I'm able to very easily do this with YouTube, and then more to the point for this week, we're celebrating with 2 videos a day. So whether it's a Procast and AlphaStar cast, there's a little something for everybody. But once I start going back hardcore with Twitch, it's going to be a real struggle to do these every single day. And if I use all the replays up now, just to get some quick, easy views, I'm not going to have content for you guys about a month from now type thing. So I'm not trying to stretch it out, and I'm not trying to game the system. I just want to make sure we have a nice steady flow of videos every single day featuring some AlphaStar. So my big question for you, dearest viewer, and I really, guys, this one's not to game the system. This is me genuinely trying to find your thoughts on this, because I'd like to make everybody happy. Let me know in the comments below. If I have a particularly short game, let's say it happens to be a 5-minute cast like the previous video was, would you prefer that I instead just leave it? Spoiler mode, you'll open the video, you'll see it's 5 minutes and realize it's maybe a match you don't want to watch. Would you prefer it just be black, empty space? Or would you prefer that I do what I'm doing right now, where I double over the video? Because either way, my idea with those videos is not to game the YouTube system. It is just simply to keep it from being a spoilered VOD. If you open up a YouTube video, you see it's a Starcraft cast, you hit play, and it's a 3.5-minute video, you're like, oh, it's one of those. At least those are my thoughts on it, but I'm looking for yours, so please let me know down below, and I will try to accommodate the best I can. Some other smaller things that have been going on, discussions through Discord. You may have noticed we've been a few less ads on the videos, and they've been a little bit better placed. I'm learning YouTube still. It's very different than Twitch, so I'm not perfect, but I want to be. So again, anything to make this channel better and more enjoyable for all of you is my goal at the end of the day. I want to keep putting out content as much as I can. So let's wrap this up and just say, let me know, please, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you in advance. But as far as this game goes, we should talk about the state of it. This was one of the first versions of AlphaStar to come out. AlphaStar did at BlizzCon, of course, feature versions of their Diamond AlphaStar, their Masters AlphaStar, and their Grandmasters AlphaStar for people to compete and play against. However, that wasn't always the case on the latter. With the latter, AlphaStar kind of came out in waves, and then the previous ones would disappear. So you would see this Diamond version of the player, excuse me, the agent, and Diamond level AlphaStar would play, you know, 60 games, win some, lose some, then they'd take it back, they'd send out a new agent and who's learned from these games, I guess, or maybe practiced amongst itself. I don't really know the full details on that. But the point is, we saw AlphaStar come out in waves. So we had a bunch of replays come out right away from people saying, oh, I just played AlphaStar on the ladder, and then nothing for a couple months, and then some more pros were finding out they were playing AlphaStar on the ladder, and then nothing for months, and then Deepmind, of course, releases the entire huge replay pack of all of these. So what we are doing is we've really taken a step back in time with this one, and AlphaStar is in its earliest iteration. As this AI robot is looking to become a human, we get to see what it looks like at its early stages. It's also worth noting, too, Diamond players, they're in a funny category of Starcraft 2. They're actually not too bad, but they're also not great. They're kind of in this awkward middle ground of trying to become a Masters level player, but only really barely better than a Platinum a lot of the time. And this isn't shade, guys. I'm proudly been Diamond for more of my career than I've been Masters, okay? But my point of saying this is, you'll see these kind of try-hard builds, but maybe with some poor execution. Or maybe they're a player like me that can execute really well, but macro really poorly. Either way, this would be a great matchup because it's a TvT for our human to really test the earliest version of AlphaStar. And what's kind of cool is I can tell right from where this, about where this game came from in the timeline, because there's cyclones in play. There's not 3 ravens being built. It's one of those things where you saw these shifts in TvT. And with there only being 2, AlphaStar learning for the pros, I don't think 3 Ravens have become meta at this point yet, to be honest. We are going to see AlphaStar win that first battle, though, and maybe a potential push across the map. This is a pretty deadly force of units, but at the same time, there's a bunker, there should be a siege tank out, and even with interference matrix available, I don't know if this early version of AlphaStar was capable of using it correctly. One thing we definitely saw AlphaStar do is, like, it improved a lot. I've cast a lot of its early games, and I've cast some of its later games, and by the way, again, if I'm doing the YouTube thing right, I'll link the whole playlist up here for you guys to see. But regardless of what I've seen, what I can tell you is that AlphaStar does definitely improve, but it always comes to these games with, like, a preset build in mind. And I take it back. This is a 3rd Raven coming out AlphaStar. Maybe this isn't as old as I thought it was. No, maybe it's just AlphaStar. There's a 4th Raven coming out. It's a game we famously cast where AlphaStar faced off against a Terran player who went mass Ravens. Maybe AlphaStar took that data and said, these are pretty good units. Although I really don't think that's the case. It's just a story I'd like to follow in my own head because there's been so many weird games with AlphaStar. Our Diamond player will get 2 Reapers across the map, and actually seeing a stark lack of production should be kind of worrisome because where's that money gone? Either a greedy extra base or, the worst attack of all time? Hold on. We're going to rewind time a little bit in this replay, folks, because why? Why? We watched the Reapers because, that made sense for the attack. This makes no sense. A couple of auto turrets coming down, sure, but to lose what is almost every Raven to barely kill a siege tank, surely it's not worth it. Oh my god. I guess the auto turrets do kill some of the Hellions too, so this wasn't all for nothing. And a Viking's going to go down to the combination of the Cyclones and that, but that's 3 dead Ravens. I don't care if you're human or if you're an AI, that is an expensive loss you can't really justify. And if we look at the resources lost, AlphaStar at best trades out evenly, but coming into the fight, attacking the high ground defender, it's not even at all. So that's going to send AlphaStar back home. 3rd base has been set up, though, and a couple of SCVs are transferring over. Also, I'd like to give AlphaStar a small high five, because AlphaStar's not taking hidden bases, as we've seen versions of it do. I guess the earlier version of AlphaStar was a good girl, and she didn't take ninja bases and float all over buildings all over the place. Double engineer base overstacked. That's going to have to reposition, but that's fine. Meanwhile, this pressure outside of our Diamond player's base is still kind of okay. Look, this doesn't have to push in and do damage. In normal terms of StarCraft 2, this starts looking like a little bit more of a soft contain, where you're not super committing to this, but what you want to be able to do is police your opponent's 3rd base, or at least make it difficult for them to expand, because now this is a weak point that our Diamond player has to spread their units out to try to defend, whereas AlphaStar could push either direction. And that's where this game gets a little bit tough. This is why sensor towers are really valuable in TvT. You'll see them at higher levels of play more than at lower levels of play, because information, of course, is hard to read at a lower level, but at a higher level, things like that are really important. However, because I guess this is just two bad things playing against each other, it's not that big of a deal. AlphaStar lays somewhat idle in the middle of the map, while our blue human Terran successfully mules a brand new base and gets some much needed money. I like this Marine though. This is actually a really good scout. Seeing the third base and just confirming what's up allows them to know that, hey, I'm actually not so far behind, taking my own third. And kind of gives you a good idea of where the pacing of the game is at. However, this is a really defensive Terran in this game, and so far it's bio, not mech or anything, but more to the point, they're just sitting here behind a bunch of siege tanks. They're not really looking to do drops. I guess, you know, stim's done. Combat shields should be on the way. There we go, just starts now. AlphaStar stim is nearly completed, about, you know, little under 20 seconds left before that's ready to fight. Probably waiting on the timing before going for a real big push. An OK scan will reveal one of the siege tanks. Interference matrix could take that out of play, or an auto turret even too. But I don't know, if AlphaStar couldn't use 3 Ravens correctly, I don't know that she has faith to use 1 Raven correctly either. Either way, combat shields are both. I did just recently cast a game of AlphaStar a few days ago where no combat shield was anywhere to be found, but luckily this game, it will have that upgrade. +1 weapon advantage currently for our blue Terran. That's going to give a nice fight for these Marines. Marines are some of the faster attacking units in the game, and so every 1 extra point of damage translated through a stim pack ends up being a lot of damage, and these weapon upgrades can sometimes be huge. I've cast a fair share of games where someone has a very equal army, but they have +1 weapons or +1 armor over their opponent in a Marine fight. That makes a world of difference. It doesn't matter so much for engaging tanks, and so if AlphaStar has like 12 tanks, the upgrades won't be that big of a deal, or human in that case. Regardless, the command center, 4th base coming down on location, but a 4th base technically was built over at home, so our blue human Terrans continue... What? It's like I'm looking at an optical illusion on the minimap. Our blue Terran has got another base set up though. Lots of orbitals means lots of mules, but more importantly in TvT, more valuable than mules sometimes are these scans to see where that army is. A nice scan out of blue sees where AlphaStar's main army is located. Doesn't quite see the Viking count. What's the army looking like going into this fight? Viking count, advantage to our blue human. Tank advantage, well, that's going to depend on positioning more than anything else. And the Marine count definitely favors AlphaStar. That's that macro. You know, for better or for worse, AlphaStar's always had pretty solid macro when it comes to TvT. Or TV anything. Yeah, builds like a derp, and siege tanks oftentimes get stuck in the main, which, by the way, has that happened this game? No. Oh my god, this is like the only version of AlphaStar where... This might actually be the only game of AlphaStar where it's not locked its own tanks into its base. Can we just confirm for a second that the diamond level of AlphaStar was better than the Grandmaster version of AlphaStar? Play the sad piano music. But sad music for a sad fight. We got a fusion core for AlphaStar back at home. Marine fight to Marine fight. It does have the advantage for the blue Marines, but that tank positioning is huge, and AlphaStar is going to absolutely dominate this base. Even if lifted to pull away, would not escape the Vikings and the Marines. That's 1 dead command center. On top of this, a lot of Marines died, and that's the fodder for the army. Now, a defensive siege tank position still favors somebody even at a lesser army supply, but I mean, AlphaStar could probably just brute force this down should she choose to do so. Back down here, we do have this base set up, so at least some mining's still going on. Base set up for AlphaStar, base set up for AlphaStar. Marines aren't going to cut it when it comes to a planetary fortress. Unfortunately, you just can't beat a planetary with Marines. Hell, you need Marauders and Siege Tanks in the mix for that to work. Now, AlphaStar went for that fusion core, and part of me was really hoping for battle cruisers, but it looks like Liberators are actually en route. So we'll have some air support coming from AlphaStar very shortly. Refineries getting blasted is actually going to really start hurting our diamond player. Not in the near future, but in the mid future, because that's the gas needed for more medevacs, more Vikings, more siege tanks, and of course, upgrades, Marauders, you name it. With only 4 functioning geysers, it's okay for now, but these ones in the main are starting to run dry. They're going to deplete very soon. So our blue Terran's got to think about taking extra gases soon-ish. AlphaStar, in the meantime, though, as expected, is absolutely killing it on the economy. Huge banked up minerals and gases. Unfortunately, we'll lose the air fight over here. but our diamond player doesn't have a single liberator to push us off. Now realizing that would be perfect, they start cooking one up. But this is where the value of that air comes in TvT. This is why even in the big pro matches, Koreans versus Koreans, you'll see a lot of emphasis go towards Vikings, sometimes even more so. I often fondly recall this like innovation game from, I think it was versus Gumiho. I could be wrong on that. But it was innovation. He put like 7 starports, and that, like all these starports had add-ons too. And you're just seeing like 14 Vikings producing at a time for each player in the production tab. Their ground armies like 5 siege tanks, like 10 marines, like because it's not important when it comes to the air battles. Liberators and liberator range is huge. Now this is not a planetary. This is an orbital with 2 very bad siege tanks on the defense, lifting up to try and save the base. Our diamond player has to make a clutch decision to attack or defend, but being attacked in 2 locations makes this a hard decision to make. Liberator can easily solve the solution over here, but there's no answer for this attack down to the south. Meanwhile, AlphaStar does have 3 command centers available, ripe for the picking. I don't think it'll be that easy, though, and the Vikings land for nothing. The Marauders get cleaned up. That 2-1 weapon upgrade for AlphaStar really shining through in that fight, and our Blue Terran, unfortunately, doesn't lose the command centers, but still loses the bases, and frankly, a lot of SCVs. I hesitate to look at the units lost tab, but... oh, God. Oh, please repair this command center. It's a lot of dead workers in this game. There's no reason to lose another command center. Alright, look, here's the thing. I don't want to oversell the position of our Blue Terran. They're losing this game 100%, but a good defensive fight with siege tanks, liberators, Vikings, you name it, this could equalize the field of battle. Over here, denying some very important mining. Nicely done. I don't think this is a lost game, but this is a game where our blue human is not presently winning, if that makes more sense. Especially when it comes to base layouts. There's just a money issue that's going to come into play, more so than anything else. That's of course, your money issues are translated into supply issues, and that's why we see such a lower supply count for our blue human in this case. AlphaStar, this algorithm is actually just nailing it when it comes to macro. Unfortunately, we'll lose one of its bases and likely the sensor towers it was using to detect drops and attacks. So a nice clear out over there. Down here to the south side, Liberator's in a great spot. Marines can't defend this. Not trickling in one at a time. Not like this. I'm not sure why the siege tank's trying to help, but hey, I'm helping! Oh, this is an easy fight for the Terran. One medevac, though, can't heal all these units up, so gotta be careful with overcommitting. Another attack splits off down to the bottom left side, and AlphaStar stuck here in the middle of the map in a kind of, I don't know, standoff against these siege tanks. Neither player's going to want to move against the other player, so this is a great way for blue to play around this. And remember, prior to this fight up here, our blue Terran was down 2 bases. Now trying to take those same base advantages away from AlphaStar while regaining their own is exactly the moves that need to be made to get back into this game. Drop to the natural base is looking pretty nice too. Big attack down to the bottom. Like I said, Planetary Fortress usually deals with Marines, but doesn't usually deal with siege tanks. Couple Marauders in the mix too. Mules landing there. Not sure for repairs or AlphaStar's just really bad at decision making. Turns out AlphaStar's just really bad at decision making. So some wasted Mules, a dead base. This one's still mining pretty nicely though with 31 SCVs for saturation. What? I guess all the bases that got evacuated were all evacuated to this base. Now heading back over to this newly set up base over here. That's a funny train to see, but 41 workers to 46. No longer does AlphaStar have this very distinct income advantage. I'm sure AlphaStar will reestablish that, but for now, their army supply remains really high. They don't need much more money, really, if that makes sense. They could just play smart and win the game with what's currently on the field. Sorry, we're taking a quick peek at Alpha Vision. I want to see what AlphaStar is looking at for these fights. Anywhere but the front line, apparently. So just see the corpses of Marines go flying. Oops, sorry, gotta put that back on everyone's camera. Alright, fixed it. This continues to deny bases down to the bottom side. AlphaStar should probably clean this up. Not a big deal if she doesn't. But +3 weapons are starting for both. Upgrades, in a weird way, do favor our AI. As AlphaStar does have +2 tank weapons, which is a pretty big deal, by the way, because it's 80 damage a shot instead of what is 75, or against non-armored units, 44 damage versus 48. Not quite enough to one-shot a Marine, but pretty much if a Marine stims, it might not have a good time getting hit by a tank. So upgrades are really valuable for the tanks in that regard. As you can see here, this guy, 9 health, barely survives. 3 Liberators at a time come from the top left, but a big fight down here to the top right. AlphaStar vastly out of position. Sensor Terror saw this coming, but the reactions, even from a super insane AI, couldn't follow up this fast enough. So Command Center's going to go down. Siege Tanks are going to set up in an okay spot over here. Vikings will keep that air at bay. No Liberators, no Vikings, no counterattack whatsoever. This is a really tough fight for AlphaStar to lose out on because they lost another base to this. This is to a player that they had previously contained. This is to a player that they've been controlling for the majority of this game, and they still, our AI has the supply advantage in a wicked way. Oh, this is such a cheeky move. Landing units for friendly fire. I'm not going to say it was effective, but it's cheeky and fun to see. But like I said, AlphaStar's got the numbers game, right? There's a brute force element to this. Up double the supply is huge. But as it loses out on bases, I do want to note our Terran player, who's maybe not so good at macro, who could be building a lot more Marines, is the one that has a bank of money. 2,000 minerals of a bank, to be precise. If they spend this money properly, that's pretty much evened up supply. So we're hitting this turning point in the game where, again, I don't think our human player is winning yet, but they are making this a lot closer than it was 5 minutes ago. And to that, I really admire their dedication to the game, but this is a tough one to fight. These run-bys have been pretty cool. I like the consistent splits for the attacks. I think at any point, fighting AlphaStar head-on is, in fact, a direct loss. So it makes a lot of sense to be going kind of guerrilla warfare tactics like this. Okay, that Marine was kind of a badass, and then his friend ran away. Bad control, but it's okay. Diamond level will allow it. Oh, let's push on the right side. Hey, come in for a flank. There's still a lot of siege tanks set up here. A lot of these Marines will die before they even get to see a battle. Corpses just flying over top of the brothers. Liberators heading to that front line. They really want to take out those siege tanks. This base is not a planetary, so the SCVs are evacuated right away. But the Marines collapse on top of the siege tanks. Liberators not used because reasons? Look, the Marines realistically should have been fighting the Marines, and the Liberators should have been fighting the siege tanks. I don't know what that mess was. We'll call it a panic. We'll call it stress. This is, after all, a 20-minute game. And like I told you guys, I seeked out a long one to pay, I guess, recompense and reconcile for the terrible looping of that dad joke. Oh, it's not even a dad joke, really. That was just a bad joke, thinking on it. Either way. No, I want to be clear. I apologize for nothing, alright? The train joke is something people try to get me to tell on stream all the time, and I never do. So that was a special treat for episode 10 to celebrate. Here in episode 11, we're just back in normie mode, watching some regular TvT. And what's crazy is that I can call it regular TvT. If I didn't know this was AlphaStar, this just looks like any other TvT to me. Both players playing really well. AlphaStar showing off a lot, obviously, with its earliest version of the AI here. Now, I can't say earliest, because I don't know if this was, in fact, the earliest, but the earlier. There we go. Let's get down to semantics, am I right? But this AI, man, it's scooping up siege tanks, it's playing safe, Marines not overcommitting, but the army supplies have evened up, and it took some time for that economy to finally catch up, but our diamond player is up to 102 army supply to AlphaStar's dwindling sub 100. Don't walk Marines into siege tanks, AlphaStar, you're better than me! You're better than this! Why would you do this? Oh, at some point, AlphaStar stuck out some more Ravens. It's kind of cool to see a huge flank from the bottom side, like the Riders of Rohan come to save the day for AlphaStar's frontline attack. And the pushing through for the siege tanks and interference matrix does go down, but that's a planetary fortress, baby. And I'm telling you right now, you don't want to fight that with Marines. It's like the third time I'm bringing it up this game because I really got to reiterate how powerful of a defensive structure this really is. Alright, there's a lot of tanks down to the south that are not part of this fight, but that planetary is going to hold its own. Marines walking to the tanks. They don't target fire this down fast enough, and despite having that 3-3 advantage, AlphaStar does not overwhelm, and AlphaStar does not claim victory here through this battle. A little bit perhaps flabbergasted as the Vikings are just sitting idly by. AlphaStar not knowing really what to do in this instance. Well, I think AlphaStar knows what to do, but unable to execute. It's probably the better way to phrase that. I mean, we've had bases lifted off and moved over. We've got new command centers trying to establish. But the thing is, AlphaStar has like a lot of minerals. Producing 15 Marines at a time is a pretty nice production cycle to have. But without siege tanks, there's just no way to win this. Not 2-11. Maybe, though, I say maybe, with the Viking control being in AlphaStar's favor, add in 2 Liberators, suddenly we're back in the game, and this is one of the reasons I love TvT, because there really is a rock, paper, scissors dynamic to this, right? Marines being rocks, siege tanks being paper, Liberators being scissors. It's a really cool trifecta, although I guess you'd have to add a fourth element in for the Vikings. We'll call Liberators and Vikings in the same batch. Liberators and Vikings are scissors. But the point is, regardless of my terrible analogy, there is a certain, like, order of operations when it comes to these fights. What takes precedence over what? And right now, our Diamond player is pushing with a really good force, but AlphaStar's got Liberators on the way. So given enough time, AlphaStar could really win an army fight. And frankly, I'm going to say this with as much respect as I can, with how bad the macro out of our human players been this game, one good fight might be all AlphaStar really needs. So pushing in here, look at this. These Marines are so overstimmed. There's no Medivacs in sight. I mean, it takes one tank blast or just a charge of Marines and this entire front line disappears. And as good as siege tanks are, they need that support, right? Siege tanks do not just simply hard counter Marines. Marines will run up on top of them. They'll drop on top of them, get to the dead zone. Marines can beat tanks, but not usually when there's a lot of Marines around them protecting them. So if these Marines just die off, Thanos snap them away, then it's an easy push for AlphaStar, which, by the way, AlphaStar might not need to even fight this army if AlphaStar pushes down directly through the middle. Without siege tank support, this might actually be one of the few times AlphaStar could assault one of these planetary fortresses with little to no repercussions. So, heading down to the south side of the map, a small cluster of Marines stems forward. Oh my god, that is such a pro move out of AlphaStar, followed up by such a noob move. So AlphaStar like segments a small amount of his Marines forward to make sure they don't all get blasted by siege tanks, but then immediately stims the rest of the army upon engaging in combat. So goes from good to bad. And now to worse, maybe? AlphaStar's focusing the planetary fortress! No, 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 no! There's too many SCVs repairing this! Meanwhile, Blue collapses down to the south side, picking up one of the last few bases of AlphaStar. Same with over here. This is not looking good. Our AI just went from having a winnable position, in my opinion, to possibly, if not definitely, losing this game. I mean, AlphaStar did kill a planetary fortress, sure, but there's one base, and one other base, and there's just so much to work with for our Diamond player. Liberators trying to fight this Marine army. It's gone. It's a massacre. I told you that overstim was going to kill him. Okay, suddenly we're back in business where the army supplies are evened out, but going back to it really just emphasizing the fact that AlphaStar doesn't have an economy. With 9 SCVs, plenty of bases, but 9 SCVs, there's not really any money coming in at this point of the game. And AlphaStar didn't have like a 3,000 mineral bank maxed out supply going into this despite its macro. Our Diamond player was forcing a lot of trades, for better or for worse. And now we look at the resources lost, you look at the supply left on the field, and I'm just like, wow. Our human player went from being in a completely, in my opinion, unwinnable position to actually looking like they're going to win this game. That's pretty amazing to me, actually. I know that these casts are usually about AlphaStar and emphasis on AlphaStar, and AlphaStar did a lot of cool things this game, but I want to make for damn sure, like on the record, that this was a really good game for our Diamond Blue Terran. So whoever you are out there, nameless hero, you have my respect. Win or lose, which, by the way, really shouldn't be lose. If AlphaStar wins this game, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flip my table over, I guess. Because there's just realistically no win. Like, all the command centers have been lifted and taken out these extra bases. They're being picked off as we speak. Not even able to drop mules to bridge that economy. And now we got Widow Mines too. I forgot to bring this up because it was so long ago and never used, but we've got drilling claws. I mean, these Widow Mines are going to stay stealth unless there's something like a Raven to see them, so all you got to do is plant like a Widow Mine per base, and AlphaStar starves out. Swapping over just the remaining units on the field, as you can see, it's down to 6 Marines. That's it. 6 Marines and 3 Medivacs. Now 4 Marines, a planetary, and 3 Medivacs. It's not looking good for our AI. They've overcome some cool odds at other ranks, but not here, not today, and not this TvT. Maybe the secret really was having terrible siege tank control. Who knows? Maybe there's some magic in that, like a summoning ritual, kind of akin to sacrificing a goat to the blood gods. Regardless, this is like the cleanest SimCity we've seen out of AlphaStar, and it's kind of depressing to know that this is only going to get worse as time goes on in its development. But this base, I don't even know why. What circuits got crossed? What neurons are firing that tells AlphaStar they should take this one when they had a perfectly fine base over here, but nothing about this game is perfectly fine. We actually see our Diamond player out of sheer paranoia checking the corner bases now for hidden bases. I'll grant you this, 27 minutes in a game, if a player's in this losing position and hasn't left, they're either stubborn as hell or they've got a hidden base that they're relying on to bring them back into the game through some clutch move. We know that that's not the case, but our blue Terran doesn't, and that's why we see these Marines still rallied all over the place looking for the additional bases. Yamato Cannon starts up. Hell yeah! Fusion Core dance, baby! Are those literally all the SCVs? 7 remain? Yeah. This is like every worker on this base. Repairing up the medevacs is so cute, but why? There's nothing to heal. Well, I guess they could heal the SCVs. The other part of this that I'm just screaming eternally about is like, Blue, go! You've won this game! Finish them! Finish them! Well, I don't know how much longer this is going to take, because, like I said, I looked up the timer of this. I don't remember exactly how long. I'm hoping that I didn't grab, like, a 49-minute game. But regardless, at some point, this should end, and I guess we'll just kind of hang out while we do. Some really cool things to go over, though, for this. Oh, well, hold the phone. Maybe I'll have to nerd out about AlphaStar in another video, because this command center is finally going to go down. Tanks push up. Not sure if that's going to be the GG out of AlphaStar or not, but 0 SCVs and all the medevacs. Oh, no! All the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put Humpty or AlphaStar back together again. GG. Ladies and gentlemen, hand them to the Diamond Player! Thank you for watching this AlphaStar cast. If you made it through all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.